Can you imagine your life where money is your friend, working with you to achieve all your dreams and desires? If you struggle seeing money as your friend, then join Kathy Cook Noble, financial advisor and educator on understanding how your money can work for you. It is possible. Now, here is Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble.
Good afternoon and welcome to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Kathy Cook Noble, and we get together every Monday night, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk something financial. And what we'd usually do is we take topics that are sent in to me actually from my clients or friends or family, or sometimes friends, family of people that know me, and they ask about stuff and they just want a breakdown of a topic that they don't understand, or they have a question about something on a topic that is a little bit confusing. So we take it here and we break it down in plain language, because that is the reality of finance. You can understand it and you should be able to understand it. And I've always told people, even before I got into the finance game and I had a financial practice as an advisor and a bookkeeper and business strategy, I always said, even from a young age, nobody should care more about your money than you. Nobody does care more about your money than you. And if they do, then you aren't paying attention to it because you're either afraid of it or you've been told that you can't understand it. And I think both of those are false. I think you have an absolute ability to understand your stuff, and it doesn't matter about everybody else's. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in. People get more obsessed and focused on what they see on television or what they see on Netflix or what they hear on the radio or on any other social media platforms. And they think that that's what they need to understand about what their friends, their neighbors, their family, and all these people, these celebrities and so forth. That's not what you need to understand. And that's not real finance for you. Maybe it is. And if it is, that's great. And the reality is, if you're dealing with 6 houses and 3 yachts and several other business adventures, then you probably have a team of financial people and you understand what they're doing. And that's important too. But for the most part, we just need to know about our own house and our own car. And maybe you have a vacation home. Maybe you have a boat. Maybe you have, in Canada, maybe you have ski-doos or jet skis or whatever in the summer and the winter. Maybe that's what you have. And if you do, then you definitely can understand that. And that's what I do here every Monday, is try and break something down in a real understanding, relatable way. And every so often on the Inspired Choices Network, we, on Financially Speaking, we get to have hosts and guest hosts with me. And we also get to have sometimes just guests that come on. But in a rare instance, like tonight, we get to have one of our regular contributors. I'm going to call Brent, because Brent's a friend of the show, and he comes on a couple times a year to share with us what I'm not the expert on, that's for sure. And mindset, I talked about it not too long ago on a show. And I'm very clear that's not my expertise at all, but I do know the importance that it plays in a financial portfolio and in a financial plan, because a lot of people don't think about the mindset of money. And I always tell people that money has no feelings, and we put a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and an awful lot of thought into money, but it's not thinking about us. And there's lots and lots of money out there. And if you want it, you can make arrangements to acquire it. And you can certainly have as much as you want, depending on what your desire is. And that comes from your mindset. And that's where our friend Brent Beshara comes in, Besh, as he's known. And he is joining us tonight. And he's going to share some of that wisdom with us through his own personal experience. And he's going to share some tips for all of us on what we can all do, because I know when we go to the doctor, it's not a one prescription fits all, but there is a lot in mindset that we all can adopt and we all can absolutely implement to make ourselves better, not just in the financial sector of your life, but also in all areas of your life. So Brent, welcome back to the show. We're excited to have you back. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time.
Absolutely, Kathy. Thanks for having me back. I too have been looking forward to this.
So maybe just share for our new listeners a little bit about yourself, so that they can be, and even for our regular listeners, just to be reintroduced to you, because we had a little bit of a gap between when we were able to get you back on, and we're going to fix that going forward. But but maybe just reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, certainly. Again, thanks for having me on board. I served in the military. I'm a retired Navy bomb disposal diver. I served in the Special Forces. I got to serve overseas a couple of times. And I got back from Afghanistan in March of 2004. But when you serve in those elite military units, it comes at a cost. It cost me my first marriage, but I still have a loving relationship with my children, right? So again, it's not what happens to us that matters. It's how we choose to respond to it. So, I'd invented the strongest knife tip in the world, and I used that with my knife company to transition from the military. So I started a business in 2002 with my knife company, and did 2 trade shows a year for a decade, SHOT Show in Atlanta and SHOT Show in Vegas and Blade Show in Atlanta. And at the same time, my bride and I, you can see here the artwork, we also started an art company with Kellyanne being the front person and the artist. And so for the last, since 2002, I've had a business. Kellyanne's had an art business since she got her bachelor's of fine arts at Grenfell. So both of us have been entrepreneurial. We've really enjoyed that aspect of it. And we've really committed to making that happen. And I've read books. I'm a consummate student of life, so I've always had a passion for life, if you will. And so I've just studied since I got out of the military, just really committed to just reading, because it was a passion of mine before I joined the military. And I just took it up again, but I started to read the things that I found interesting and important. And it was just, all the poets, prophets, professors, painters, physicists, politicians, padres, priests, parsons, performers, playwrights, philanthropists, podiatrists, politicians, padres, principals, and philosophers. And what's a philosopher? Is a lover of knowledge. So I love knowledge, and I've been studying, and I read every night. And what I'm finding is that we are kind of, not literally, but metaphorically, standing on the shoulders of giants, those that have come before us, right? How did they achieve success? Well, they wrote it down. And there's many, many, many great books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. There's just such especially now you go to the chapters, the largest section is the self-help section, financially speaking, of course. And so then how do we move forward for us, it was to make a plan, to make a plan forward. So we began with the end in mind. So we made a list about what we wanted to have in life, right? The end state. It's no different. It sounds like woohoo. It is completely woohoo, but it's no different than Olympic mindset. So when we have an outcome, a vision, way forward, we make a list. We simply do everything every day, all that can happen to make that work, right? So it's staying. It's versus the intention versus the expectation. For example, Kellyanne and I, when we first started the art business, the first couple of years, we totally had to pay out of our pocket to get the business going, startup fees and stuff like that. But then, and we weren't quite sure if we were being successful. So Kellyanne was like a little upset that it's not working. So we said, well, how do we know if it is or not? So then we invested in the software, and we put in the numbers. And yeah, the first year we totally paid. And then the second year we didn't pay as much, but then on the third year we made $19. And I was ecstatic. I go, oh my gosh, we made after all the year of travel, after all the things we did, paid all our bills, got to do the things we wanted to do. We're up $19. I was elated. She was upset because she had an expectation that it should be more. I was just happy. And so since then, our portfolio has grown because of that commitment to doing the things that made us successful. And so we continue. So every Monday, we have a Money Monday or a Monday Mash. We get together and we just go through the list. And the list is a living document, and it changes. But we just commit to, answering the phone messages, checking the mail, checking in on the bank accounts, paying the visas ahead of interest payments, those things like that. And it's worked, and it's continued to work. And now, again, success for me, again, don't take my word for any of this stuff. This is just my best guess. But when you do the work, you get the results. And so, we've read a lot of books on financially speaking successful people, right? And they've done the work, and then they are financially successful because of it. So for me, the term success is doing what you want when you want. So we just really commit to what is most important: family, friends, food, fun, frivolity, fitness, fashion, things like that. So we just really commit to those things that we want to have in our life. Because remember, people say, "How are you doing?" And they say, "I'm busy." Well, busy, again, don't take my word for it, but I think busy is living someone else's dream, whereas Kellyanne and I are active. We're living our own dream. And because we've decided, Brian Tracy has this 13 questions. And so like 15 years ago, we stopped the boat, dropped the anchor, and we did answer these 13 questions. It took us almost 2.5, almost 3 days to do it. And the whole living room was full of foolscap paper, and you have to answer these questions, and it's lists and lists, and you render it down to basically what are the most important things in life. But when you truly commit to the delineation of the things that are not important, but really commit to the things that are, it paves the way ahead. It truly shows what you want to commit to. And then, in order to create flow, or as you say, tapping into the flow of money, the stream of it, that you have to provide a product or service, right? It has to be something. You have to be able to give something in order to get something back. It's a give and receive universe, but you got to give first. So like Brent Bouchard says, is give your best stuff away for free. So when we commit to, again, it's the word commit. I just can't say it enough. What is the mindset? Well, part of it is completely committing to the plan. What if you don't have a plan? Then we got to sit and make that plan, like a mind map. And so when we answered those 13 questions, it was really eye-opening. And so we had supper with my 105-year-old grandfather. The real impetus, that really the catalyst that helped spark this was, so when we're sitting with Grandpa George, and I said, well, this is the last meal we're going to have together, because we got to move back to Newfoundland, right? And so I just said, what's the last question I could ask him? And so I just asked him, Grandpa, what did you like most about farming? And he just sat there for a minute, and then he looked at me, because he was a farmer. Him and his wife, Granny, they lived, they had 77 years of marriage, right? He was 105 and she passed away at 102. They're my heroes, right? And so I asked him, what did you like most about farming? And he sat there for a minute, and then he looked me in the eye and he said, independent living, right? So what do we want in life? Do we want to have an independent life, or do we want to have a busy life, right? It's our choice, but what are we willing to commit to it? So that's been our mantra for over a decade now, and it's paid off. Yeah,
that's awesome. Do you ever have, or Kellyanne, do you guys, either of you at any time, if you ever get off track,
oh yeah,
what do you do to get back on? How do you help each other with that?
Right back to the basics. The basics are eat better, get exercise, meditate, do your exercise, and then the Monday mash, the bullet points that we follow, and we commit to those bullet points, and then we get the results, right? And so we do. We just every Monday we do it, and then it happens, and it's amazing. It blows our minds how, oh my gosh, it's working, right? And the orders come in, we do all the invoicing and such, the paperwork, and an overnight sensation only took 18 years.
I love that, because that's exactly, anyone I've talked to that's been successful, that's what they say. Everyone, they see it, in a flash, but they don't see the 20 and 30 and all the years and time and books they've read and all that came before them. And actually it's funny, and I want to ask you about this when we come back from the break, but we see a lot, especially with social media. There's a lot of, and I don't know if it's jealousy or what the case is, but people are a lot more verbal on social media about other people, and I think there's some security in being hidden behind a social media app where they wouldn't normally say or do these things that they're doing. And I think that it's part of it comes from this overnight success that they see people and they're like, oh, well, it must be nice that you can afford all this and everything, but they don't see the work on it. So how do you, I want to ask you about this. We're going to take our first break, but when we come back, what's your advice on people that are having those kind of social media bashing moments, the people doing it and then the people on the receiving end that are still doing their work and so forth. So we're going to take our first break of the night. We have bash all night and the hour always goes super fast. I can't even believe we're on our first break, but we're going to take our first break and then we're going to come back and get some more advice from Besh on how to live our very Besh life. So don't go anywhere. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network, and I'm your host, Kathy Cook Noble. And we're excited because today we're introducing our lifestyle contributor host, Brent Beshara, and he's going to be joining us throughout the year, and he's going to help keep us on track with our mindset because people, it's funny, I guess, for me, because some of the things that are most important in life are the things you can't see, touch, or feel. And one of those things in this case is mindset. But in my case, because I spend all day dealing with money and numbers, the people that are looking more for the money, they can see, touch, and feel it. And they think, a lot of times people think that's the most important thing to see, touch, and feel to get more of it. And make no mistake, money makes money, but only if you have the right mindset for it. And part of the mindset comes with the plan. And that's really what we're talking to Brent about today, is how to get the mindset and all the pieces coming together. And before we went to break, we started talking about social media and how it can play a pretty negative role. And I'm not going to bash it because it also can do some really great stuff. And it has the ability to get out the word for, helping charities and people that are in need and getting that out there quickly. But it also has the ability to spread some pretty ugly negative stuff too. And before we went to break, we wanted to ask Besh about, what do you do with your mindset when you're either on the receiving end of that, or if you're one of the ones spreading all the negativity? What do you do with that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kathy. And the social media is super powerful. It is. They've done the research now. They show how amazingly powerful this social media is. So it's a tool. We're the first generations to be living with this technology. So we're just babies having adult experiences. So how do we stay focused? Do what we need to do, and then get the job done at the end of the day. You covered a lot of great points. We can really unpack this. So again, please don't take my word for it. It's only my best guess, but these are the things that have worked for me. And I feel that if it can work for me, it can work for others, right? So, because I'm not here to tell, poke, pester, persuade, or prove to anybody what I've lived through. It's just what I've lived through. So I'm just sharing my experiences. So for me, especially in these times, we're living in very turbulent, trying times, globally, certainly. So, for me, I had a bit of a meltdown when I left the military, for example. And one of my roles in the military was to hunt mean, angry people. That was my role. I was in the special forces. And so when I got out of the military, I had all these great skills and drills and stuff, but you did it for 24 years. So I just went online and looked for mean, angry people, and I found them everywhere. I found them in the government, in the pharmaceutical company, in the oil and gas, in the education system, in the religions. And I had a meltdown at how could you be such a poppycocker when we're living on heaven on earth? So I just couldn't believe that people were so bad. So I had a meltdown, and I was in the fetal position for 3 days. Right. But it was the words of Socrates that came to me when I woke up after that third day. And it was, hey, man, don't fight the old, focus instead on building the new. So since then, I've just focused on building the new, because me standing on the corner of Wall Street waving my sword is just going to prove them right. Right. And it's going to put me in a box. So that doesn't do anything. So building the new. So if we buy into what the social media is talking about, yes, I just had a mini melt like a month ago. I was just got all in there and got all wrapped up. But that's part of us now. We're mature athletes. We have to be more cognizant of our self-care, in life, financially speaking, but also with regards to how much content we're taking, because it's just information. Food and information are the same thing. It's input to our body. So if we start to fill our stuff with potato chips and sedentary lifestyle and stuff like that, it's going to create an effect on the body. Same thing if I take content that makes me mad and I'm always doing that, then we're going to fire our endocrine system. We're going to create stresses in the body with adrenaline, cortisol, and epinephrine. It's going to create stress. And if we do this chronically all the time, then that's always releasing those chronically stressy hormones. And this is what I've been studying with the Wim Hof method, and also as a Navy diver, understand this implicitly. You need to. You're responsible for people's lives. So if we're constantly releasing those stressy hormones, it's going to create dis-ease in the body. So it doesn't matter if I have the best mindset, but the shittiest habits, I'm going to create dis-ease. But if I have the best habits and I'm living my best life, but I have a shitty outlook, I'm going to create dis-ease in the body. So it's living in coherence with our mindset and our heart. So if I'm always saying you're wrong, and I'm getting bent, well, I'm creating that angsty, vexing sensation in my body. And chronically, it's going to start to break down our cells. And that's where we get all the autoimmune issues like fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme's, Crohn's, Addison's, Hashimoto's, Raynaud's, COPD, cancers, and things like this. This is because of deregulation of our hormones, which breaks down to our cells. So we got to be most kind to ourselves. The body's a temple. And when we care, life cares. So by just simply contributing to the stuff that makes us feel better, less social media, like I really reduce, I don't listen to the news. I don't, and I really regulate my content. And I just try to share the thing that's really going to move us forward. What is it? It's love of self, love of others, community, right? Compassion, understanding, and empathy. These are superpowers. And this is what's always moved us forward as a species. So when we commit to ourselves with love of ourselves, love of what we're doing, because, hey, we're going to be doing, we're on the wheel. Some of us are on the survival wheel. So there's two wheels in life. What are there? There's the survival wheel and the creative wheel. And if I'm on the survival wheel, it's tough for me to get on the creative wheel, right? It's tough to create things that, for me, it's being an entrepreneur. I'm so blessed to be able to live off my creativity. Kellyanne and I, we've that independent living from my grandfather, that sparked us, like put rockets up our butt. So we've just committed to that. So I need to take care of myself. Like today, I know I'm coming on your show. I did what I needed to do. I went in the pond. I froze for a couple, 3 minutes, right? That feels good. So I'm fresh, I'm frosty, my skin feels great, right? So back to your social media. If I'm being vexed by it, then I'm being vexed, and it's creating those those things. Yes, there's some things that are wrong in the world, but we need to do it with kindness and compassion. Gandhi brought the British Empire to its knees through peace. So we still have that power is within us, right? Non-violence. So, but it comes to us first. How are we treating ourselves? When we care, life cares. You're the most important person in your world, as I am, as we all are. So when we care, life cares. And if we find ourselves in a situation where we're always busy and it looks like we'll never get out of it, well, that's the time to stop. That's the time to be still and know ourselves and really commit to, right, what do I truly want? What is the feeling of my dream spouse? What is the feeling of my dream house, my dream job and spouse and house? What is that feeling of that being set up now, right? We make the list, right? What is my dream spouse? What is my dream house, my dream job? And these are workshops I run, right? And so, because when we care, life cares. And so by committing to those, for me, that's my three big things: dream job, dream house, and spouse. Made the lists, and then it's happened, because when we understand what we truly want, then we can delineate the things we don't want. Okay, no, that's not working. That's not working. That's what I'm looking for, right? So it's about the list, and if we want it done, we write it down. We check the list, and it's just like sailing a vessel. The more often I check my navigation from point A to point B, the sooner I'm going to arrive there. A is where we are, B is where we want to be. We make a list. What I've done is in the workshop is we make an A list and a B list in a column with it, right? The A is the things that aren't working. A is where we are. This is crap. This isn't working. This is poppycock. But B is where we want to be, right? So, I was in a relationship that was 4/5 good, but I wanted, the Hallmark says you can have 10 for 10. You can have 5/5. So I wanted 5/5, so I made a list. Through the jigs and the reels, I meet Kellyanne, and she says, what are you looking for in a partner? I go, I've got a list. She goes, you've got a list? That's kind of creepy. Tell me anyways. So I told her my list, and she goes, well, it's too bad that we're not hooking up, because I think I'm pretty much all your list. And the list was basically someone outgoing, vivacious, sense of humor, someone who liked to go for walks after supper, someone who's going to pick me up when I'm down, because I'm not always the happiest pencil in the box, right? And I wanted someone who came from a large family. Kellyanne's got 47 first cousins. And I wanted someone who had their own art, because I'm a creative individual. I need to have my own space to do my own thing. I wanted someone who had their own and equal opposite space. And well, look, you can see it here. She's
awesome.
Yeah, super talented. So I made the list, and then she showed up, and Hallmark was right. You can have 10 for 10. Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
So yeah, just some nuggets. Again, this is just what I've seen. But again, when we commit to the list, it's amazing what can happen. Right? But if we don't, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always got. If we truly want to do and have different things in life, then we truly have to commit to having different thoughts, which create different feelings, which create the actions in our life, if we're motivated to do it, and then which create the results. And we're simply going to be a result of ourselves. Continuously.
And I love how you share your own stuff when you say that, because the reality is a lot of people will read stuff, or they'll see stuff, or watch a video, or go to a workshop, or in a retreat, whatever. And it's this kind of like, to me, it's like going to a football game. You get all cheered up for the hour, and then you leave, and now what? But when people can see a real human that can share and relate stories that they can share and relate to, then I think it helps everyone build. I know it helps me from a personal point of view. When you're talking to somebody, it's all fine and well. Like I read, because it's my job partly, but it's my job to know what's happening with Berkshire Hathaway and Amazon and Apple and all these people. But they're not very relatable on a everyday personal level. But when you can hear them, anyone talk to you personally, and I have some fantastic entrepreneurs that I'm friends with that have done very, very well. And then they sit down like we are one-on-one, and they tell the story of how they got there. And they're 20, 30, 40 years of overnight success. And you think it's so relatable, because you can do that one thing. We don't wake up in the morning and say, how do we get to be the richest man in the world like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? It didn't happen overnight for them, but that's all we see. And when you talk to somebody that's done really well, like they tell you about their mindset and the stuff like you went through and how that helped you, and you decided how you wanted your life to be and who you wanted in it, and how that person was, you want them to show up in your life, then people can start to break it down and it doesn't become so overwhelming, I think. And then to me, it's the same as a financial plan, really. You know where you want to be, and you back engineer it and say, okay, you want this much money, here's how we have to get there. And we just break it into chunks. And little by little, you compound the growth and you get there. And to me, I think mindset's very similar. You break down where you want to be and you compound growing. You whether you do daily affirmations or you listen to, I have my one video may not work for anybody else, but Michael Jordan is a huge influence in my life. Not just because he was an awesome basketball player and I liked basketball, but his mindset I always really appreciated and respected. And his video is very uplifting for me and inspirational. So I watch it all the time, to the point where I'm actually really annoying to watch it with because I recite it. So I'm one of those. But I remember his one quote when he said, why do I worry? One of the reporters asked him a question about, the pressure of shooting the game-winning shot. And he said, why would I worry about a shot I haven't taken yet? And I just thought, yeah, goosebumps. Why would you? I love it. And I've never forgot it. And even just the last couple of weeks we had a lot of stress going on. And I just kept every night, I was like, Michael Jordan doesn't worry about the shot he hasn't taken. Why would I worry about something that hasn't happened? So it's helpful. And to me, that's just one of the little tools that I use. And you have very similar tools. And honestly, watching and reading your stuff on social media, I always like and appreciate, because it is absolutely so positive when there's a lot of ugly out there right now. Mm-hmm. So I love that. And I am up for another break. I just realized. So we should end it right there. We'll take a break. We have Besh all night. I told you it goes fast. It's never enough time. That's why Besh is our lifestyle contributor, and we're going to have him a few times a year to keep us on track, because everybody needs to have some kind of mindset. And I don't care who you are. Tony Robbins is a big name out there, and even he has a team that keeps him on track. So we are putting a team together, and we've got some of the best out there. And Besh is by far the best. And I'm going to share with you my own Wim Hof story when we get back. So don't go anywhere. We're with Besh all night, and you're listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network, and I'm your host, Kathy Cook Noble, and we have our special guest and lifestyle contributor with us today, Brent Beshara, and we've been talking about mindset and the importance of it and how to really get yourself programmed for success. And I mentioned to Besh that and I always think of him because the first time he told me about the cold, I'd heard about it, I read a little bit, didn't really understand it. And he talked about the cold water program, if you will, or training. And it was the Wim Hof method. And he teaches it. He's one of the few instructors that's certified to do it properly. And, you think just jumping in cold water, no problem, but there is a whole system to it. And if my husband Todd's listening right now, plug your ears because that's what he's getting for Christmas. I ordered the book for him. So don't tell him if he's listening. But this morning, and this is so, I said to Besh before we got started, we didn't have a lot of conversation time, but it always amazes me how the universe works. And people think because I'm a numbers person that I'm a pretty straight line, but I also believe that there's a lot more out there, and the universe, you have a lot of power with energy and mindset. And this morning I go to get in the shower and there's no hot water. So I turn the shower on to get warmed up and then I jump in. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's very cold. And usually at the end of the shower, I turn it down and do my try and do 30 seconds of the cold water. But today it was like jumping in the deep end, you're all in because there's no hot water. So and I'm yelling from the shower, like, there's no hot water. And then it hit me. I'm like, I have Brent Beshara on. And there's no way this coincidence happened on the same day that I have Besh coming on the show to talk about mindset and Wim Hof. So I started laughing and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm learning the Wim Hof method like a lot faster than I was planning. But I thought it's kind of funny the way the universe works. And yeah. I love it. I think it's funny, but I think, wow, what a lesson, right? This very day that you and I are reconnecting after a few months of not being able to get together. And here it is. My hot water has worked beautifully. It's not that old. And by some fluke last night, it stopped working. And I'm like, wow. What are the odds? So, and Todd had it fixed right after I got out of the shower. So, wow. All right, that's Besh. That's the universe.
What's crazy is I had my own Kathy Cook Noble synchronicity last night. I love watching YouTube. It's my favorite channel. And I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, your episode, Wise Women, showed up. Oh my gosh! So I listened to it this morning. It's a beautiful episode. I love it. It's very empowering, and that's what we need is the empowerment of the empowerment of the feminine, if you will, in both men and women, right? To be more sensitive, more compassion, more understanding. How cool the synchronicity of you got a connection and I got a connection. That's really cool.
It's meant to be.
Yeah. Well, I love the part, just to finish up what you were saying about as you closed up the last section, was that, there is a path to our peace of mind. There is a path to our happiness, but it comes with a warning. There might be a little bit of work involved. But once we truly commit to that path is relatively short because the accomplishment of any goal, not every goal, but any goal is assured the moment we commit ourselves. And it might seem, we all have a story. We were all in diapers once, right? So we all have that commonality. And so when we it's the hardest thing to do is take that first step. But once we truly commit to ourselves, nature always provides. And I know it sounds totally cliche, like it also says, ask and it is given. But when we truly ask for what we have in a focus, it's no different than Olympic mindset. It is completely woohoo, but it's no different than Olympic mindset. When that Olympian gets up each morning, that when they wake up and they put their feet on the ground, they'd say to themselves, that's my gold medal. What do I have to do to make that happen? They're just holding it for me. But what do? Right. They commit to their health, their happiness, and they do the work. And then they show up, right? And that's all we got to do is show up in our own lives. And any situation can be overcome, right? We always have 4 options in every situation. We can either get Zen with it, right? We can declare our boundaries. We can leave the situation, or we can stay in the insanity. That's kind of what I figured out. You might have, but that's it. We can either get Zen with it, declare our boundaries, leave the situation, or stay in the insanity. So that's kind of, if you have another option, but that's kind of it. So regardless of where we are in life, we could be a single parent, or, but yes, some situations are truly, especially in the times we're living in, are so very, very hard. I get messages all the time from people in super dire situations. It's a global epidemic for sure, but the principles are still the same. We got to take care of ourselves first. The pilot has always said to put our own masks on first. So until we do, how can I be there for others if I can't be there for myself? So even if it's for 5 minutes, what I recommend to friends is just sit still for 5 minutes for 5 days, Monday to Friday. Just wake up a little earlier, set a timer, and just allow yourself to witness the mechanism of your perception. Just look at the thoughts, because all thoughts are pictures. They're just simply pictures. And just when I sit and look at the pictures in my mind, they only have the meaning that we give it. And regardless of any, I've been in some pretty horrible situations in my life. And when I look back on those things, because I've learned to process the old pictures in my mind, they no longer have that value of just either grief or stress or anxiety. Because I've learned to process and understand that they're just pictures, because it's not happening now. So really, a lot of the big game is staying present to the moment, right? And then understanding that we have to go from here to there, and to stay process oriented, just to work on the work we need to work on today, versus where's my jag, where's my pool, right? Because if we keep saying that, then we're missing the point of being present to what is. We're lost in mind, which is full of the bats and the squirrels in my case, right? In the belfry. So by just committing to doing what needs to be done today, but just that's it, every day, just commit to that list. And man, Kellyanne and I, we look back at the stuff we've done through the folders, and we're both the type, we just never look back. We just keep going forward because we've got great things to do, right? So I just really commit to the really good, fun things, because we've designed our life to be that, right? Independent living, doing what we want when we want, right? And so we just commit to that. But doing the work, though, we have to provide a product or service to create flow, right? It just doesn't. Yes, there is a lottery, sure. But for the rest of us normal people, we just got to commit. I love the financially part of it, because we wanted to move to Newfoundland, but we had credit card debt. We had, our finances were out of whack, our budget. What's a budget? Anyways, we had this financial coach come in, and they sat us down and they said, hey, let's just run through the numbers. I was terrified, right? It was, oh my God, because I don't know. I was just terrified of the unknown. But actually, when we unpacked it, okay, yeah, we've got some holes. We've got some poor habits. But once we stop using our bank card at other institutions, maybe we just get on the thermos for a while versus always buying, maybe reducing, so just a little bit of tightening up. Actually, it was pretty amazing how quick the credit cards filled in, because we then had developed better habits. Because we had better habits, we had better results. And we just committed to doing the good habits. And yes, sure, we crap the bed every once in a while, sure. But when we have that Monday mash and that Monday routine, keeps us back on track, keeps us focused. Oh yeah, right. It is working. Everything is all right. It's okay. It's going to work out. And we just commit to the list, and then it happens. I don't want to sound cliche, but it's kind of that simple. And don't take my word for it.
Love that. No, I love that. And I've done the same. So, it's the same on my side. We do totally different things, but the concept is exactly the same. And I'm a firm believer that, and you've kind of confirmed it for me with your Monday mash, which I love. It's on Monday, by the way, that you write it down. And I tell people this all the time. Oh, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, write it down, because until you write it down, you aren't committing to it. That's my opinion too. And I think write it down. Like I have one of my very good friends, and if she's listening, plug yours. But for Christmas, I got her a 5-year planner. because we've been working on, like, she's been working on her business and her mindset, and she's had a lot of things go on in her life too that weren't pleasant, but she's been able to help a lot of people because of it. And so this year, I'm always a big write it down, get focused on it. So I have a 5-year plan that we write down, and I've got it like, I look at it and say, oh, where am I supposed to be? What's my target? And I use a target because that can change. Like people, and I always tell them, man, if your goal in life is to have $1 million and that's your goal and you don't hit it, are you going to be upset that you only got 950,000? Like really? Like, if you didn't hit the goal, that's okay. But the target is $1 million and you got 950,000, you're going to be happy because you got pretty close to your target. And maybe you got 1,100,000, you maybe went over a little bit of your target. That's okay. If it was a goal, you're like, nope, only $1 million, I got to throw away $100,000. No, I always like to use a target and say, the target can move a little bit, and hey, things change in your life. So maybe your target gets moved up, and maybe the timeline gets moved up because our target can be. So I'm a big fan of having targets. And that's what I have in my 5-year plan to say, hey, at this point in time, my target is to have this happening, or to be at this point, or wherever my target is. Now, if I happen to hit my target on February 3rd and my goal was January 20th, am I going to be upset? No. If my goal was March 1st and I hit it in February, I'm going to be happy because I did it early. I'm not going to slack off. That means that, hey, that worked. So for me, what you said is 100%. I couldn't agree more. You got to write it down. And you and Kellyanne do it as a team. And I think that's important because I sit down with couples and my first question always is, are we doing this as individuals or are we doing it as teams? I don't care either way. I don't judge. However you guys do your finances I can make the plan work either way, but I need to know, are we doing this as a couple or are we doing this as a him and a her thing? Because that gives the differences in plans, right? And a lot of people don't realize sometimes even that it's a you and me versus an us. And a lot of people, they aren't even clear on that. So that's important from a mindset point of view, obviously, why it's one way over the other. But it's also important from a financial planning point of view, because, if you go ahead and put a plan together, you're doing this as a couple, you're like, no. She takes care of these bills. I take care of these bills. You got to separate it out. Makes a difference. So the writing it down stuff has always been, I love writing it down, and I like color, so I color code it. I'm not as artistic. I'm not going to lie. I'm not artistic like you guys, but I do like the color coding. So we're up to our last break of the night. When we come back, we're going to just touch base with Besh on what's coming up for him, other than being our guest contributor. But don't go anywhere. You're listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. And we have our last few minutes because I told you it goes really, really fast when we have Brent Beshara on. So we just have our last few minutes of the show. I want to remind everyone, we do have our app. It's free to download. Go into the Android or Apple Store, whatever you have, absolutely free. The app is awesome. And you can hear this recording again if you're not hearing it live. You're welcome to download it, and you can just plug yourself in where you need some assistance, and it helps you to really stay in touch and get motivated in the parts of your life that you need it. So it's not just for me, for Financially Speaking, it's all of the Inspired Choices Network. And there are some pretty phenomenal hosts here that can help you with different areas of your life. And I also encourage you, look Brent Beshara up on social media and follow him. It is inspirational. And when you need that little boost of positivity, and it's, again, the law of the universe, that the day that you need whatever it is always seems to be the day that Brent posts the thing that you need. So that's the law of the universe and how that works. And just be aware of it. And I encourage you to follow Brent. So what's coming up for you with, the new year, how you are planning your holidays and staying on track? Because, that's where people always say they fall off the wagon at, holidays and stuff, because, with their diet or their mindset or their exercise or their financial plan, that's a for sure. So how do you keep yourself on track, and what's coming up for you?
It's with all that's on the go, travel's kind of like all diminished. So what's really neat is we invested in our house because we didn't travel for the last 2 years. So we just invested the money, in our house. So now we have beautiful new floor, new dressings and stuff like that. Kellyanne's all over that. So, so for us, it's right back to the basics. I think the next 3 months are going to be, volatile, going to be crazy, if you will. So I think then, because if we already see that's kind of the trend of our society, then I think it's the most important thing to do is take care of ourselves, right? I'm really committing, I've had my astrology chart done, and it just says, hey man, there's going to be some rapids coming up ahead. So the best way to prepare for rapids, tighten things down, make sure you got the food, candles, things like that. So I'm just really committing to being a good doobie, building the new, like Socrates says, and just really taking care of myself, committing to my fitness, my health. These are the times that will define us. End of story. And are we choosing love and light, compassion, understanding, and empathy? Or are we choosing fear, doubt, worry, lack, and scarcity? Right? That's kind of the duality in which we live. So I'm totally focusing on what's right and what's here, and really just contributing to be a contributing member to society. There's a lot of stress on the go. There's a lot of things on the go. There always kind of has been, but I think the temperature has been turned up. So it's even more important to take care of ourselves, to commit to our health and commit to the delineation of the noise or the information that's no longer working for us. Right. Yeah. So that's it. So I do have a website. It's besh.ca. Right. I'm not running any workshops currently, just due to the crazy situation. But you can also find me on the Newfoundland Winter Tribe on Facebook. Right. That's kind of like where I like to hang out. And that's it. So the commitment to the mindset, the breath work, the cold exposure inspires me. And I know these tips, tricks, and tools that we talked about for the last hour, they work for me. I know it can work for others. Just cut right back to the basics. If we're stressed out, then really let's just commit to our peace of mind and do more of that which makes you happy and less of that which doesn't.
Awesome. And I do need to share, I love how you talk about Socrates, because I too am a Socrates fan, and that's the name of my dog.
Get out. So, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, my little Socrates. That's where it comes from. So there we have it. Another connection right there.
That's crazy.
So I was thinking in my head when you said, I'm like, yeah, I love Socrates, and he just mentioned socks. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in 2022, and we'll keep imparting your wisdom onto all the people that we can. And I know it helps a lot of people. I know the mindset is great for me. If nothing else, it's a reminder for people that they need to keep writing it down. They need to keep working on it. You learn something every time that you start focusing on that. And you learn something every time that we talk to you. So thank you so much. We'll see you again in a couple months. We'll share that with everyone. And we will have Brent Beshara on as our guest contributor. He will definitely be our lifestyle contributor host with us, because it's so important to get to your financial goals. You have to have your personal and your mindset goals in place too. So we'll be back next Monday for another episode of Financially Speaking. See you there.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Financially Speaking Radio Show. Kathy Cook Noble will return next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.